It's great. Good morning and welcome to Union Station. And I get to say, wow, we're having a historic announcement. I say that all the time, but today it's truly historic as we bring history home to Kansas City and where it all began. First, I want to thank UMKC and the students from the conservatory for some beautiful music today. And we're going to continue to drop little hints. That university is the only university that a specific cartoonist created their mascot. We'll continue to connect those dots. So you'll learn that a little bit later. And a special thank you for all of our special guests that are with us today. I see we have many board members, and speaking of UMKC, we have the Chancellor of Kansas City's University. Doctor, thank you so much for doing this. It's wonderful, it's great connections, and I hope everyone here went to UMKC like I did. And then there are several elected officials. I'll be introducing our Chief Imagineer in just a few minutes, and if there's any other elected officials or board members, please raise your hand, and we'll say thank you to you. Thank you to you. There you go. Now on to a place of pride and celebration. The entire region comes together in Kansas City as a place where we are. And you are all invited, and you should have received a very small envelope. Okay, today it's all audience participation and creativity. So you have to follow all these. This little special envelope, don't open it up yet. This special envelope is filled with confetti, but not really. It's some magical dust. And I want you to hold them in your hands right now. And in just a moment, I'll tell you exactly how to use this special magic dust. And it's all legal. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge that we are all here to share some of the greatest, the worst kept secret of our announcement ever. You all think you know what it's going to be, but no, it is all about a love story of Travis and what's her name? Taylor, Travis and Taylor. It's all done, and it's a dance and an experience, all set to music. You won't want a minute, I'm sure she'll be here. I just said that. Tickets go on sale now, right now, if you want to go on your phone. Okay, but that's okay, because what we're going to be doing today is so very important. Union Station tells the history and the stories of Kansas City people, and what better way than for us to bring one of our most famous people back to Kansas City on the floors that he was. But, in fact, you're about to see what we have been working with for the last 3 years. Our executive team, Jerry Baber and myself, have been working on bringing this exhibition and other community partners, thank you Bank of America, so this exhibition could be in the historic Union Station in the home of Kansas City. And I have to thank Christoph Schultz, who is with Seminole Exhibitions. We've had great relationships with him. He was the one that brought us King Tut. He could not be with us today. He's in London because that's where the exhibition, it just opened to huge crowds, but Kansas City is going to do better than the 84,000 pre-sale, right? You're going to help us with that? We needed more people than they did because, you know, London's just an old place. So we want to succeed. That guy never really created anything in London. Also, this is very relevant because it's a perspective of a story of homecoming that encompasses nearly 100 years of imagination and entrepreneurism. And we're 109 years old, and we had part of that history. So now it's time, okay, to get out your little magical pixie dust. All right, another hint. All right, put it in your hands. Nothing, okay, just put it in your hands, okay, ready? And when we say this, we're gonna say it together, and when you hear the word pixie dust, you're gonna blow, all right? So, or you can just throw it in the air. So ready? And you follow me on the screen with these special words, because we're going to bring magic back to Kansas City. So as Peter Pan famously said, ready? All you need is faith, trust, and a little pixie dust. Now, for those of you that will be leaving a little bit later, please do not slip on the floor because we do not have enough insurance to cover any damages. My shoulder's already out. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's let the magic begin.
Thank you, George. And my hair doesn't need enough extra shimmer, so I'm just trying to make sure I get that out of it. But Again, thank you, George, and thanks to each of you for being here today for this historic and exciting moment. Bank of America is pleased to once again lend our support in ensuring Kansas City audiences have access to world-class content and experiences. For more than 20 years, we have partnered with Union Station on important projects that bring history and culture to our community. From helping build Union Station's world-class Bank of America gallery that will host Disney100, the exhibition, to multiple other exhibitions and sponsorships, including Auschwitz. We are honored to invest right here where we live and where we work. And speaking of history, let me share a bit about Disney that you might not have known. Bank of America's relationship with Walt Disney Company began with its first line of credit in 1930, marking the beginning of a relationship that has lasted decades and seen the financing of some of Disney's most iconic projects. In 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt Disney's first animated feature-length film, and the first in the United States, was financed by Bank of America. And then we went on to finance and partner with Disney on several features: Bambi, Dumbo, Fantasia, Peter Pan, and, I'm not lying, Pinocchio. We financed the construction of Disney's Burbank Animation Studio, completed in 1940, and in 1955 we partnered with Disney to finance the construction of Disneyland in Anaheim. We then went on to finance the construction of Walt Disney World in Florida in 1971. And in 1983, we went overseas with Disney to help them expand to their first project overseas in Tokyo, Disneyland Tokyo. We're proud of the history with Disney, and we feel fortunate to have begun that partnership with Walt Disney when he was first in the early stages of his vision to build this great company. Indeed, Bank of America, Disney, and Union Station have stories that are tightly woven together, which makes this presenting sponsorship especially meaningful and important. So, speaking on behalf of the entire Bank of America community, all 213,000 of us, the team is excited and we can't wait to help cut the ribbon to open Disney100 in May 2024. Thank you.
Dance? That would be great. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast. We could dance back there. Oh, these are all bad jokes. Thank you, Matt, and thank you so much for your commitment, and especially thank you for that massive donation to carry on the Bank of America Gallery. Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Matt, for all that you've done. But I got a little surprise for you. One thing you did not know. Roy Disney, when he was in Kansas City, worked for First National Bank. So there you go, another connection of Kansas City and Walt Disney Company. So I hope we can get his employee records out. But thank you again for Bank of America. We could not do what we do without you and what you bring to Kansas City. As I mentioned earlier, bringing Disney100, the exhibition, to Kansas City has been a journey well worth our efforts over the last 3 years. When we heard the Disney Archives were going to open their doors to bring amazing artifacts never before seen, we wanted it to be in Kansas City. We needed it to be in Kansas City because it tells a story and it inspires people. When we first went to the Disney Archives, Becky Cline, who is the executive producer of this exhibition and the head of all archives, took us on a tour. And we went into the vaults and we saw some of the most rare artifacts, and we knew it needed to be in Kansas City. And to be in Walt Disney's office, to experience the power and the imagination and the creativity is really inspiring, and it connects the entrepreneurial spirit to Kansas City. And when we found out, the phone call went to Christoph, and then a phone call went when you want to send the very best right across the street to Crown Center. And Don Hall, who made a personal plea to bring this to Kansas City because they were the very first licensee with the Walt Disney Company. So it just goes deeper and deeper. And without Kansas City and our nearby friends at Marceline, Missouri, Kaye, Sumner, thank you so much. We went and visited with you, and the heart and spirit of Walt Disney is there, and you are going to be part of this exhibition. And we have a little surprise a little bit later. But on these marble floors, right under the historic Meet Me Under the Clock, Walt Disney walked. Walt Disney worked. He was selling food. He was selling newspapers. He was creating and imagining, going to school at the Kansas City Art Institute. All of that right here at Union Station. That should inspire all of our students and all of our community. When I think about it, when he was here, he was 7 years old. And that's the same age that our Science City team is inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs and the next generation of creative. But on these floors, he arrived as a boy and he left as a man. And he created magic for the whole world to see. And it's all right here at your historic Union Station. But it's the greatest brand in the world, and we're putting the greatest visual voice together. Excuse me. But in March of this year, or next year, we had a chance to personally meet all of the individuals there. And Becky, thank you so much. It was really, truly special. And we had a chance. If you have a chance, please hug Becky. Because when you hug Becky, you feel as though Walt is coming out of her body into you, and she can tell you everything. As a matter of fact, if you're wearing something, she'll say, you know, Walt in 1962 had that right when Disney World opened. But that's neither story. But, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm off script, Michael, but I'm still okay. Thank you, Becky, for coming to Kansas City. Thank you for joining us for dinner last night, another story. But the kindness and what you opened your doors and your team, we are so excited. And you're going to be our best friend for the next year. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce to you the brilliance of this exhibition, the heart of this exhibition, and the woman that will tell us a rich story that none of us really know, but will enjoy and learn and experience. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to introduce Becky Cline, executive producer of Disney100.
Thank you so much, George. This is so exciting. And I just have to tell you that in London there is a Disney Street, so maybe you and the mayor can make something happen here. Yeah.
No, we can't do that. I thought you wanted him to go to London.
Well, that too. So thank you all so much for being here this morning. We are so excited to make this announcement today. We've been, as George said, working on this for several years. The exhibition that is coming here has been in the works for over 5 years. We started it in, I think, 2015. We started really thinking about what we were going to do, and then in 2018 we started working on it. So it's a long time coming, but I think it's worth the effort. You know, the first thing we had to figure out was how to tell the story of 100 years of Walt Disney. And at first we thought, oh, we'll tell the chronological story and, you know, tell everything in order, and that just didn't work, and we thought that's not the way to go. So what we did was we went back to the foundations of the Walt Disney Company, which of course are Walt Disney and his brother Roy Disney. And we thought, well, you know, how do we tell that story? What did they do? What they did was to create great stories featuring believable characters using the highest quality technology to entertain an audience of all ages and backgrounds. Sounds pretty simple, huh? But no, it isn't really. And so we decided to take these ideas and these foundations, look at Walt's philosophies and how he made magic, and how we continue to do that all the way up to the present day. So this exhibition is about how Walt and Roy Disney, two humble brothers from the American Midwest, created a unique company that did and continues to do just what I said. This isn't a chronological retelling of the company. Instead, we go back to those philosophies and the values that Walt himself had. And we look at how he used simple but very effective principles to create amazing productions and how we still follow in his footsteps today. This exhibition is 15,000 square feet and it has 10 different galleries. The very beginning, the prologue and the first gallery, tell the story of Walt Disney and his background and the creation of his early silent films all the way up through Mickey Mouse and the Silly Symphonies. But then we leave the chronological story and we go into galleries dedicated to each one of his philosophies. The first, of course, is great storytelling and the inspiration that Walt found and that we find in so many different places. The next gallery is about creating believable characters. Walt insisted that you had to care about these characters, and that would make you care about the story and take these stories and bring them into your own lives. The third gallery is about the spirit of adventure and discovery, and that's where we have some really exciting tales, showcasing some of our live action films, and of course bringing it up to the present, very exciting adventures with Marvel and Lucas. The next gallery is the magic of sound and music. Music was always very, very important to Disney storytelling, and we showcase that, as well as sound effects, and also the way we have created and shown our productions in multiple countries and languages. Then we go into the world around us. The world around us was very important to Walt Disney. He was a conservationist. He was the first one to make nature documentaries, and he cared very, very much about what the world around us was like through nature, by portraying it in his films, but also protecting it. He was the chairman of the National Wildlife Week for many, many years, and cared very much about the environment. He also, of course, was very interested in the cultures of the world and telling the tales of other countries within the U.S. and also bringing his product around the world. One of the most exciting in the exhibition is a gallery dedicated to innovention. Walt Disney was always interested in cutting-edge technology and doing new things, and so he always he was very curious. He looked into new technology and then immediately figured out how he could use it to make his cartoons and theme parks better. And speaking of parks, of course, we couldn't neglect our theme parks. We only had one gallery to tell the story of all Disney parks around the world, and that's a pretty big chore. So we focused on Disneyland, but made some very interactive, immersive things that you could go in and learn about the other parks around the world. And then, of course, the wonder of Disney is how our audiences have embraced Disney over the years. And there's a nod to different decades and different special things related to families and how they've taken Disney home with them and brought it into their hearts. And then, of course, we have a little nod to what's going to come in the next 100 years with, as Walt said, keep moving forward, and how we're going to move into the next 100s with our new products and exciting ventures. So it's so fitting that this exhibition is coming to Kansas City. You've heard a little bit from George and Matt. And Kansas City is the perfect place to host this exhibition. There are so many connections from Walt's earliest years. You know, he moved to Missouri, like he said, when he was 4 years old, and then came into Marceline, Missouri, and then went to grammar school here, worked his first jobs here, and of course started his first studios here. And before he moved to Los Angeles to create Mickey Mouse and everything else. But it's very fitting to be here, and I can't even begin to tell you how many connections there are, but if you come get a hug, I'll tell you as many of them as I can. So the Disney family and the Disney company have deep, deep ties to Kansas City, to Union Station, and also, of course, to all of Missouri. And to tell you a little bit more than that, my good friend Kaye Malins has come, and she has some very special stories and knew Walt Disney personally. So she's going to come up and tell you a little bit about the connections to Missouri with the Disney family. And she and I are also going to kind of unveil what's here. When she's finished, we'll unveil what's underneath that black cloth, some special things that we brought that are related directly here to Kansas City, and share those with you. So without further ado, thank you, Kaye, and come on up.
Okay, I just got my hug, so I'm feeling dizzy all through me. So, yeah, I'm Kaye. I am from Marceline. Marceline, Missouri is about 2 hours from Kansas City. And Becky was alluding to all the experiences that Walt had here. He had a lot of experiences in Marceline, too. Actually, in 1938, Walt wrote a letter to the Marceline Press, and you have to think about what had happened to Walt by 1938. Born in Chicago, moved to Marceline, moved to Kansas City, back to Chicago, went to World War I, came back to Kansas City, stopped in Marceline, goes to Kansas City again, and then he goes to California. His first character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, gets stolen from him. He finds Mickey Mouse, and in 1937, he does a little feature film called Snow White. Yet in 1938, Walt writes a letter to the Marceline Press saying, "More things of importance happened to me in Marceline that have happened since or are likely to in the future." Pretty powerful words. So in Marceline, we were gifted 3,000 artifacts by Walt Disney's sister, Ruth. We purchased a falling apart 1913 Santa Fe Railroad Station. And 3 years later, we opened the Walt Disney Hometown Museum. Since then, we've been partnering with our good friends at the Disney Company on events that they bring to Marceline. And while this wonderful exhibition is going to be in Kansas City, we are working on some really special things to happen during that time that we're all quite excited about. And there'll be another announcement somewhere with pixie dust. So anyway, I want to invite all of you to Marceline to come and see us. We have a real heart connection to Kansas City. I spent my childhood coming to this station from Marceline. We had 7 passenger trains a day. And I was saying earlier that we used to have helium balloons. They sold them right over here. Yeah, George is shaking his head. Yeah, but all the seats was covered with helium balloons at one time. Crying children on the first floor and helium balloons in the air. So anyway, there was just magic here, and I think I still have some of it on me. But come see this exhibition. If you think you know Disney, you don't until you see this exhibition. So we hope everybody comes here. And by the way, come to Marceline as well. We will be happy to host you there. So thank you all.
Don't have a mic, so I'll talk loud. There are some really wonderful assets in here that came with me from Burbank, hand carried them. And there's 3, oh my goodness. Boy, you are magical. There are 3 objects in here that I brought with me from Los Angeles. The first one here is a certificate for Laugh-O-Gram Films. It is a 1-share certificate for his sister Ruth Disney, and it's a $50 share. They were asking me if it was any good anymore. I said Laugh-O-Gram has been long gone, so there's no value in it intrinsically, but it's probably very valuable now just because it's signed by Walt Disney. So pretty exciting. And then 2 really cool artifacts here. We have 2 business cards. One of them says Walt Disney Cartoonist, and it has the address of his home here in Kansas City. So his very first business card. And then next to it is a Laugh-O-Gram Studios business card that belonged to Walt Pfeiffer, who was Walt's best friend as a young man, and worked for him for many, many years. So these are very special artifacts. I hope you enjoy seeing them, get some pictures of them. And we don't show these often. Paper documents and things like that are kept out of the light, and so we don't put them out very often, but these are the original pieces, and we're so happy to share them.
Thank you both. Denise, please check the light levels right now on these artifacts because I know we're going to get in trouble. But there you have it. It's the story of a hometown boy that is for our time. A rich history and tradition that celebrates the 100 years of the anniversary of Walt Disney, the Imagineer, the man that brings life to all young families and everyone around the world. I'd like to also think that the spirit of Walt is with us today, as I said earlier, and reminding us at all times. I have this on my desk, and it's one of my favorite comments, and it's one that I saw also on the walls, and it says, if you can dream it, you can do it. And our team at Union Station dreams big and makes things happen. I will tell you that I and our Chief Operating Officer, Jerry Baker, have seen this exhibition when it opened in Philadelphia. And it is truly magical, and we cannot wait to see the next iteration of what that exhibition will be here in Kansas City as you experience it. But now I'm going to introduce somebody, and it's not Travis, and it's not that, but it is our own Chief Imagineer, the person that imagines what Kansas City can be and what it should be, and he always thinks out of the box and brings that Walt Disney spirit through him and into his son, who's always at Union Station, Science City. But he really worked very hard to come here today to be with us, because he gets on a plane to go see Travis in Germany. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you right now our Chief City Imagineer, Mayor Quinton Lucas. Mayor?
Well, there are many things that I could say, and I won't go all the way Travis by saying you got to fight for the right to party or anything of that sort. I'll stick to our theme for today. So, how exciting is this? My days are usually filled with any number of other issues, some challenging, some not, but rarely do we get to think about the greatness that is around us in this community, the greatness that came out of Marceline and Kansas City and beyond, and more than anything, the inspiration that we can have for young people and people of all ages, thanks to this exhibit being with us. I first want to acknowledge and thank my friends at Union Station. In good times and bad, Union Station is there as a central gathering place for Kansas City. And particularly for someone of my age. I was born into a Kansas City, as many people my age and older may remember, of a Union Station that was abandoned, that people considered tearing down, and how exciting, delightful, and vital that there are those who work to make sure that not only we preserve this outstanding facility, but that we have great and exceptional events like this one. George, as the steward of this museum, you do outstanding work, bringing Kansas Cityans and people the whole world over to see what Kansas City, what Missouri, what Kansas, our country and our world are all about. So I want to thank you and all of your staff at Union Station for your work. This is an exciting time, and Kansas City is truly on a roll, in some ways comparable to Kansas City of a century ago. Earlier, George asked me who was the mayor back then. A gentleman by the name of James Cowgill, who served one term as mayor. He was succeeded by a Sam Struther. If you think about the things that were opening anew in Kansas City in the late teens and 1920s, better rail connections both inside the city and beyond, new businesses, new buildings, new establishments, a Liberty Memorial to come shortly thereafter. Kansas City was truly a place that people were talking about, were excited to visit, and were excited to be a part of. I like to think that here, a century later, we're still able to inspire that same confidence in a community by looking back at our history, the work of some like Butch Rigby and others to make sure that we're preserving buildings that Walt Disney worked in, and more than anything to make sure that everyone is part of this great Kansas City story, of our past and our future. Now I have to admit one thing, I have never had the fortune of going to Marceline. I look forward to doing so soon, and I know the first place that I will stop to make sure I look at exhibits and I get to see where Walt Disney walked, where Walt Disney slept, and maybe tell a few stories of my own to my son, and hopefully share those stories with so many others. I hope and encourage all of you, because ultimately George is an outstanding salesman, and I think he presented a challenge to us. We need more than 84,000 pre-sale tickets sold. I believe I'm happy to buy the first one or several, put it down here, but make sure you tell everyone when they're asking what to do in Kansas City, where should they go explore, where should they go visit, and what should they do with their child, their family, or anyone on a special day to come through Union Station to learn the story of Walt Disney. And there was something particularly that Becky said that was so interesting. You may think you know Walt Disney, and many of us may think we do. We've been singing songs from his films. We've known his characters for lifetimes. But I look forward to, and I'm sure all of us look forward to, learning even more, not just about Walt Disney, but about the community and the communities that built him. Thank you all for being here with us today for this celebration. We look forward to the exhibit, and congratulations to everyone with Union Station and Kansas City for allowing us to have another exceptional, outstanding exhibit for the world. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
If I can ask you all to get up there. Now, when we're on the screen, there's a famous song, right? Many of you are probably, I can see Steve Doyle, so you know the real song. So, ready? Everybody put her hat on. And what do we get? And Becky, would you lead us in a special song? Because you don't look like Annette Funicello.
I don't.
But I look like,
but I'm representing.
You do look like Annette. You're wearing her sweater.
So I'm sure some of you have heard of the Mickey Mouse Club before, so we're going to sing for you.
Ready? M-I-C, see you real soon. K-E-Y. Why? Because we like you. M-O-U-S-E. Thank you.